Today I want to talk about the public education system in 2020. What we as a people should expect from the public education system and how we depend on it. The criticalness of thinking about what's happened to our people over the last 50 years is a reality. We already know that compliance is everything. And if our children are caught on the streets after dark or in the daytime, it doesn't really matter. If they fail to comply, they can end their lives. And I think that that is my greatest fear. I've taught my children what compliance means. It doesn't mean that I won't be there at the time that they are told to comply to the law. And what is the law? Our reality is that compliance is the word. If you fail to comply, then there is a punishment that is rendered. And to our children, it could cause them their lives. I'm going to pause right here for a moment, and then I'm going to come back. The reality of public education, it's mandatory. I think I never really thought about it, but I know that it was affecting my children once they started participating in public education. And so I didn't even try to get involved. My sister kept on saying, "Darling, you better get over there and figure out what's going on. I don't think your son is being successful, but it's up to you. You need to find out." I said, "Look, I'm working every day." I said, "They're clean, they're dressed, they're ready to go, and I get them there on time and I pick them up." She said, "No, there's so much more." I found out there was a tremendous amount more. And so I will say my oldest child was deemed to be gifted and gate. There was not one assessment that he did not take, that he didn't score off the chart. But public education was just boring for him. And the issue with him was he challenged the situation that he was in. Every teacher, and they were very negative to that. Teachers don't like to be challenged, even if they're wrong. And so his 12th grade English teacher, she wanted to know why did he really come into her class, because we pulled him out of regular English and put him in a gate class. And she wanted to know what was the real reason he was in there. She wanted him to say, "Thank you very much, Mrs. Geiser, for coming to support me after class." And I'm saying, you don't have to cow down to anybody. That's her goddamn job. It's real. And so we pulled him out of that class and put him in the office. And he did office attendant until that was over. And he graduated. And I would say that his test scores were far, far greater than his GPA. But my middle child, he graduated above proficient. He had a processing disorder that was a language processing disorder. So whatever he heard, 1 out of every 10 words was specifically too many words for a lot of people talking. It was hard to clarify what was being said. So he had to learn that everything he needed was in writing. And as long as he got it in writing, he was able to pass the high school exit exam, the KC, the algebra proficiency. He passed all of that and graduated above proficient. So let's see, my youngest child, who they said was severely mental retarded and communication handicap. And they said that, what can I say? I said, okay, we'll start with language. And I allowed them to put him in a speech and language class. And he was at Caleb Greenwood. And his first teacher, I liked her a lot, was Betsy Tamita. Then Miss Betsy Tamita left, and I had Miss Gina Sutherland. But Tyler said, "Mommy, teacher do this, owie, owie, hurt, hurt." Oh, that was time to move my child, because I went in there and I started observing how she was handling the children, and it was frustrating to me. And I believed Tyler when he said, teacher, do owie, owie, hurt, hurt. Because some people don't need to be in the classroom situation after a certain age. It's too much for them. And if they're not effective, they don't need to be there. And plus, the district was purchasing books, but not allowing those children in the special education classrooms to access that curriculum. And so when you have children in special ed and you don't hold yourself accountable to the measurement of benefit or the maintenance of effort, how are they moving all children forward? But hell, we're not participating like that anymore. I remember when I first got involved in public education, I got involved in CASE, and Maxine Pepper was a trainer and out there in Del Paso Heights, and she was also a board member, but she was just real people. You could communicate with her, you could talk with her, and she would tell you what the law says around public education. So I learned to read all the rules and understood the process, and in which I understood the process, I could help to try to justify to support other parents to how the process should work. Well, for a while there, that worked for me as long as I had a child in the district, because I had support from someone else. I had support from a gentleman called Michael Rosenberg. He was a state disabilities counselor for Area Board 3 for many, many years. And I can say that he went to every IEP that I had for my son and Tyler. And we managed to graduate above proficient with a one-on-one aid and a laptop. And my son is gifted, but my son still has a disability. He still has epilepsy, and he's still in the spectrum of autism. But guess what? We are all blessed with some gifts, and how we use them is critical. I consider my journey a reality of true grit, meaning I was going to make sure that my sons were successful, at least to the best of my ability, because the culture that I'm living in, I chose. Oh yeah, honey, I chose. I was married one time, and I had 2 other children. And so that means I have 3 sons by 3 different fathers. And it really doesn't matter, because they're my sons. And my sons have not been incarcerated. And my sons graduated from public education. And my sons understand the system. And we are living and surviving in the system. I'm going to take a break here, and I'll be right back. The reality of Black people or African American people or people who migrated from the South, or it's really like the Deep South and perhaps like Texas, those southern states, to come to California and to see California as a way of surviving, but didn't understand there was a cost to that survival. So just, giving your children to the system, allowing the system to make the determinations of the benefit of what 12 years of public education does for you. And you can't allow anyone to make that kind of choice for you. Because quite frankly, if you have to look at what the data says. The data says that we are the harvest. And every year that a student is moved forward without meeting the basic proficiency standards of that grade level, well, then that student cannot catch up the next year. And every year, that student gets further and further behind. I have worked with other families who have children who are in special ed, and the district just doesn't even acknowledge that I exist. But I have gone to bat for other families in Sacramento against the SARB hearing, and won, actually. And those children that I went to battle for, I'm assuming that they're still free, because it just was an intent to incarcerate. And that's just real. And the young man that I'm working with right now, I've been on his special education team meetings, and we've been attending and asking for support, but there's no evidence of the maintenance that's supporting these children. These children are put in special ed and kept at the grade level when they entered. So we have a lot of 12th graders who can't read beyond 3rd and 5th grade level. And guess what? The district modifies the curriculum. And so they modify the curriculum, and then they don't have to meet that basic need. I mean, they don't have to move your child forward. And it just behooves the shit out of me, because I'm really trying to understand this. Why do they think they're there if they're not there to ensure that your child has a benefit? Why should you be mandated by law to participate in an educational system that is incarcerating and criminalizing you as a people? How is it that in Clark County, Nevada, they have a 256% higher rate for suspension expulsion for African American children? 56%, which climbed 3 more percentages in the last 3 months. And I'm just trying to understand how this all works. Do they just assume that they have the right to harvest at the youngest grades? Because they just start collecting data about what you can't do, and they don't try to transition you to teach you nothing. So due process would mean that you would have a right to have an attempt to try to benefit from the service first, before they start listing that you couldn't benefit. But here in America, all they do is the willful defiance issue. You're willfully not trying to participate in your own benefit. Can you imagine that shit? You're just choosing to be a failure in life and choosing to be a part of that harvest. Well, that's what it looks like. It looks like that every year. Whenever you don't see African American parents participating at the school site council level, or at the district level, or at the round table with the governor, or wherever, I really don't care. It's called wherever we can have our voices heard and participate in the American system to demand that we engage in the monies that are being paid out by people who look like us. So even if it is not the poor people, black people in entertainment pay taxes. Oh yeah, hell yeah. If they don't pay, they go to jail. Just look at Wesley Snipes. I believe he went for tax evasion. Come on now. Somebody help me wrap my brain around this shit. Because it's difficult. I'm really trying to think about it every day. How does it work? How does it work that you can keep a student in your classroom, and every day this student just refuses to do the work? Do you think it's a refusal? Honestly? Hell, it's not a refusal. They're not even at the ability to have the level to do the work, because it's called social promotion. So socially, you're promoting the student to give them a certificate of completion. Hell, you don't even require the student to go so long, full day, anymore, if they're going to be special ed students. But special ed is Burger King. It's what you need and the way you like it, but only if you stand up and demand it. It's not a label. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's a system in which it breaks down the structure of education to ensure that your child benefits. And every aspect of education is broken down under the special education laws and rules. And the government says you shall state, educate your disabled and your poor. And who governs the oversight of that? You better know it's the people. But if the people never show up, then it's the few people who do show up There's so very few who are making the decisions for all of us. And we're just supposed to like that. And somehow, we're not supposed to be speaking about it. We're not supposed to be having the level of knowledge and understanding that what really matters here is that you have the ability to engage in the process, to do self-advocacy, to ensure that you're not left out there in the cold. Because here in Nevada, when they have 15,000 homeless youth sleeping on the streets and every night, and then they have a large number of homeless families with babies sleeping out there. And then they have a lot of contractors and business people who own buildings who they are not regulating to ensure that public safety is the number one aspect of life. So when people lose their lives because the city didn't do a proper job in ensuring that everyone participate at a level where it doesn't bring harm to the community, I'm just trying to understand that. I am seriously trying to understand how it is that African Americans have a 256% higher rate than any other ethnic group in America for suspension and expulsion. And then I understand that education is not required until you're really 7 years old in the state of Nevada. So they they go up to a 28%, I believe. She told me it was a 28% higher rate of income ratio for families, meaning that the income ratio that they take for Head Start, they can go up 28% of the socioeconomic whatever, so higher than normally just all the poor people. And I talk to black people, they don't even know what Head Start is. So if they don't know what Head Start is, they don't know what historically black colleges are. Every year, Ellen Rowe comes here, and he can't even partner with the NAACP because simply when he tried to do some work with them, they tried to take his program. And I'm saying, and I tried. I really did. I paid my membership for the NAACP, and somehow I got my membership number wrong. And then when I went to the meeting and tried to correct that, guess what? They ain't talking to me. They don't appreciate me or my advocacy. And they told me I could come and be on the education committee. But apparently I'm not on the education committee because I'm not a member of 1111. But when I get ready to pay my membership this time, perhaps I'll just work towards paying a lifetime membership. That's what I should do, so that I don't have to be questioned about my membership anymore. Because the membership for the NAACP should be recruiting people who are willing to fight for public services for the least of us. Not willing to try to get in the photo op, try to take the picture. Who could look the greatest, I guess. I'm really trying to, it's a lot of glamorous stuff and socializing, because this is the entertainment capital of the world. How could we have, all the famous entertainers on Regency? That's what they call it. Like they're performing at a certain club and you could always go and find them. But then the poorest of the poor can't even afford to even entertain the thought of ever seeing them other than on a video. So that's why videos are important. But guess what? They do so much tracking here. They do a whole lot of tracking. They do more than tracking. They actually alter devices. They alter videos. Because they can do that. Because an enterprise server can do whatever. Because we are all a part of the work group. Irregardless. To access the internet, you have to be a part of the work group. And when you're in the work group, people are going to apply policies to you. And those policies say that your device will work in this manner, or it will not work in this manner. Oh, you might need a new printer. Your printer don't work no more. Your printer don't recognize the ink cartridge. There's a whole lot of things that they can do. And you can be in a public space and they can delete a part of your video if they think it's a yellow, I don't know, a yellow explanation mark comes on your video and says your video has created an illegal act. And then when you go back, that part of the video is gone. I don't know what about being in a public meeting could be ever called illegal when you record it. Because I thought we lived in America, but I'm finding that perhaps we have lost many of our rights in America. But what we didn't lose was, I think Obama opened up this internet stuff, and we are here on the internet. We can be on the internet, we could post, we can choose to follow who we follow. We can choose to understand that we all have a personal responsibility to document our journey. My journey has been a great one. I have truly been blessed. And I'm looking to bless other people who need and seek to understand just what's going on around them. Because America wouldn't be great if it were not for its ugly past and all the battles that they've had to strive to try to clean up the ugly past. But the only way they get to not acknowledge what's happening right this moment, they just don't. Because it's the continued harvest. It's the continued plantation. Anytime that there's such a low graduation rate and such a high incarceration rate of African Americans, more African Americans I understand now in penitentiary than it was in slavery. Just black people. Just black poor people. People who were denied a free and appropriate public education. What does that look like? What does the 13th and the 14th and the 15th Amendment actually look like to you? Have you ever read it? I didn't read it until I got this age. I'm concerned that many of us don't even take the time to understand and read and acknowledge where we're living and how the few make choices for the many and how those choices affect the many. We all need to stand up. I understand that I'm living in Clark County and there was like 28 people who participated in the caucus the last time. 28. Think about that. But in Sacramento, there was such a low number turnout in Meadowview for who ran for Bonnie Pannell's seat. But Bonnie was a miracle woman. I mean, she participated in all those committees. But one person cannot save the world. One person is just one person's journey. We all have a personal responsibility. We have all been given the gift of life. And using your gift is sharing your journey. And how you share that journey makes a difference. I can say that I understand I've truly been blessed. But I can say I see lots of dysfunction around me every day. And I understand that a baby will seek to mimic whatever environment that they're living in. So if it's ladled with criminal behavior and choices that necessarily don't benefit the family or whatever, or you just do the best you can, or you seek to have knowledge to do better for yourself. But hell, what can I say? There are such gaps in our communities now. We don't live amongst each other. There was never enough of us to really have a strong power base in our community. And then we're just simply the harvest, because every nonprofit organization can get a chunk of what the federal laws mandate that you have a right to. And then if they fail to provide, because they're third party, they're not held liable. They have so many third party providers in public services. And they have such a failed system, just totally failed. Because otherwise there wouldn't be this many poor. There wouldn't be this many unskilled labor people living in Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world, where you should be able to go out and have a great evening being an African American person and socialize black. But you have to search for that here in Clark County. You have to search for it. It's a reality. It's just a plain reality that black people don't own the Cotton Club anymore. And there is no more Moulin Rouge. And there is no way to support or sustain gifted and black in entertainment. Because you have to become a superstar, then come back and be on Regency to be here to entertain in your community. I mean, let's get real. I don't know what planet this is. I don't know what planet this is. Where we're all just about how someone can make a buck on your ass. It's just reality. It's reality. And so how we deal with everything in life is it's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to understand that God gave you the gift of life to share your gift. And your gift is not about how much money you make or what you do with that money. It really is about how much you're willing to give of yourself to help your brother or your sister make a difference for the babies who are coming, who have nothing. We can't share stories about how 5-year-olds are holding pot bags and money and guns and living in chaos. Was that Snow on the Bluff? If you haven't watched Snow on the Bluff, God damn it, get online, go on Netflix and watch Snow on the Bluff and understand that that's where we're coming from. Understand that so many of our people are just caught up in that dysfunction. There's nothing wonderful in walking around with your ass hanging out. For what kind of attention are you trying to get? You have to learn that you have to love you. And in loving yourself, you will be able to give love. But you can't give love if you're hanging on to everything as if it's going to make a difference for you. Know that, know this. Ain't no Rolls Royces going into the funeral home or the funeral parlor. And know this, everybody makes choices. My ex-husband, he made a choice too. He made a choice to continue to search and conquer. And all he did was create another human life that he regretted having to support. And in the end, I know that he was not a bad person, that he loved his children. But he loved himself and his personal choices more. And that's what I know. And because whatever he didn't value, if he didn't value me, I couldn't put myself at risk to stay with him. So I moved on in life. And it doesn't matter because I'm blessed. I'm still here. And unfortunately, he's passed. Passed by unfortunate choices, just not self-care and making poor choices. Because you have to pay for whatever you choose. He married a woman who was 34 years old. A year older than my son. What was my son supposed to do about all that when homegirls started running around? I really don't know. But my ex, he had a massive heart attack. What a choice. Because of his own personal choices and his personal condition that he had gotten in by his choices to go back to work. He didn't have to go back to work. After he had a bad car accident, he had to go back to work. He could have had accommodations on the job, whatever, but he hurt himself on the job again and became a paraplegic. That's a lot to say for someone who just valued what was below the belt. His choices really were a little bit too personal. But that's how we all make choices. We all make choices that affect our lives. And there are consequences to choices. But we also need to know the most important thing is when we bring a human life into the world, that we have personal responsibility to engage in the public process to ensure that services are happening for those people who look like us. Because we will pay taxes as long as we're black and living in America. Blacks do pay taxes. Entertainment drives America. Look at the NFL. Look at the NBA. Look at the Major League Baseball. Look at entertainment, period. And look at black people. Look at golf. Where are we not? We're there. Generating revenue. Revenue generators. We've always been revenue generators. I don't have to look back at Malcolm or Martin or Medgar. I could list so many, and it wouldn't make a difference if we still don't have a voice today to demand that we engage in the public oversight process of the use of public funds. So this is my conversation, my series. I'm going to work on putting it in my iMovie. Have a great day.